Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Voita, and it's been a while, Jamsters, since we did a little episode of the Suns Jam Session podcast. But here we are. It's the middle of September. The basketball season is right around the corner. You know what that means. You're about to get a consistent dosage of Suns Jam Session podcast content. We're excited to be coming to you live once again. My name is John Voida, managing editor, Bright Side of the Sun, co-host of the Suns Jam Session podcast. Can't do it alone. You know I got to have Mr. Matthew Lissy with me. Mr. Matthew Lissy, how are you?
Mr. Matthew Lissy. Good, good. I'm great. Yeah. Mr. Matthew Paul Lissy, that is. I'm doing fantastic, man. What an introduction. What a way to get back on track by doing some 2K ratings today. Everyone's in the chat, just ready to get back at it. Dude, the energy, I feel like it's kind of swaying back to the NBA, even though football just started. That's how I'm feeling right now.
It's how it always is, though, right? We go through the dog days of summer. Baseball's happening. Nobody's watching. Little football happens, and the next thing you know, we're getting ready for Suns Media Day. The training camps open. The preseason games begin. And before you know it, the season is upon us. But, of course, before we do all that, you got NBA2K25 or whatever year you're in. It's always a year ahead. So NBA2K23 if you're watching this podcast in 2022. It's a preview of the season to come. It's an opportunity for gamers to hop on to their PS5s or Xbox Ones. I think that's what
I think it's a one. I think so.
I don't know. I'm a PS5 kind of girl. So it's an opportunity to see the team. If you're an avid 2K player, you've already made the roster transactions in NBA 2K24, but no. The ratings are updated. Everybody's a year older, a year wiser. You have the rookies. You don't have to create them yourselves. They're there, unless they're Jalen Bridges. And so it's the first kind of log on the fire, if you will, to the season that lies ahead of us and the flames that will burn brightly as we prepare for another disappointing season of Phoenix Suns basketball.
Yeah, I was excited, but now I'm not because I forgot it does end in disappointment. So let's get the season over with, guys.
This again.
Let's get it all over with.
Matthew's already booking vacation time, like next late April. He's like, just fucking.
Yeah, you might as well get out early, right?
Are you excited though? With NBA 2K coming out with the new season, like
I
what's
think
the excitement level for you?
The 2K part, not too excited because I kind of gave up on that game a few years ago, which kind of sucks because now it's on the new PS5 and that thing looks amazing. And I'm just kind of not in the mood to play video games like basketball or football anymore. So I kind of miss that. I don't know when I will get that back, but it does kind of hype me up just for the season. Because like you said, Media Day is coming in just a few weeks. And then after that, the preseason, all that. So it's going to be just all NBA. And you know how the NBA is. It's a soap opera. So it's going to be constant news just leading up to the season. So I am very excited. I'm pumped to be back on the pod after a few weeks. So I'm ready to go. What about you? You ready to go?
I'm with you. The level of excitement is slowly building. And I think that on this episode, I don't think that, I know that, I interviewed Ronnie2K, just like I did last season, to talk about the NBA 2K ratings. And simply by having that interview, and by just talking basketball, something that you and I do all the time, and we haven't done over the past few weeks as we've taken kind of our late summer break as we typically do here at the Suns Jam Session podcast, but to just have those basketball conversations again, to mention the drama that you just mentioned and know that all lies ahead. I do get excited for it. I love NBA basketball. I love the process of it. I love the beginning, middle, end of the season, not always the end of the season. But I love the everything that comes with it, the storylines, the content creation that we do, the relationships that we build with you, the Jamsters who are watching, or the readers at Bright Side of the Sun. All of these different things is what makes this so much fun. So we have plenty to get into on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. As I mentioned, I have an interview with Ronnie2K that we're going to air. A couple of housekeeping notes, if you will. A reminder, you can follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those fun places for our thrilling content that we're just constantly pumping out on our social media platform. If you're listening to this podcast, head over to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a subscription. We're so close to, 3,700 subs? It'd be really cool to hit like 4,000 subs this year. 5,000 would be an ultimate goal, but hell, I'll just take 3,700 at this point, Matthew. And another reminder, if you are watching this, head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating. And if you happen to be on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. Type something in there. We'll read it right here on the pod. And after we have that interview with Ronnie2K, we're going to talk about, kind of what he said, observations on this team relative to how they are being presented to us via NBA 2K. And before we get into all that, we will be having Dave King's Brightside Night once again this season. It's going to be the 9th of January against the Atlanta Hawks. That's a Thursday. We soon will have that link up on Brightside of the Sun. We're working with the Phoenix Suns on getting that done, but they have confirmed that's the night. So the legacy lives on. So in memory of our buddy Dave King, it's going to be the first season that he hasn't watched. Let's pop a cold one if you got one. And let's drop the drop. NBA2K was released last week. Some people got it on the pre-order. Some people got it on the 6th when it officially released. But I'm going to have a question for Matthew.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
So, Matthew, I got to ask just one question. What do you think of the new Mason Plumlee drop? Mason Plumlee. Thoughts?
I love it, and I think the more and more you do these, the more it's reminding me of like the Goodfellas opening or those old school like mobster movies where they have like those intros like, I grew up on the streets, whack him, whack that, and all that shit. And they're playing that music in the background. So that's what I'm thinking about every time we make these now, because it's like the 50s 40s doo-wop going on.
Seriously.
Always with those songs, so I love it.
Like we'll have to run all of the drops that have an old school theme to them, but it's definitely like I made the Budenholzer one earlier when we brought him on as our head coach, and that's Gene Chandler's The Duke of Earl. And I realized, like, I just really love oldies. And whenever a new player comes, I just instantly find an oldie. And I'm like, let's just put his name in the middle of that. At least that's the theme for 2024, 25. So, all right. Well, now that Matthew has approved of the drop, we'll keep it. And on that note, we'll go ahead and let's play the interview with Ronnie2K talking about the Phoenix Suns ratings on NBA 2K25.
2K launch behind us. Really fun one, actually. But yeah, here we are, NBA 2K25. Let's talk ratings.
Amen. I mean, we over here in Phoenix, we got plenty of questions, and I'm sure we'll get to all of those. But I guess the first thing I got to start with, again, great job on rolling out another fantastic product in NBA 2K25. A game that you just can't put down. It's so much fun to play. So much fun to play as the Phoenix Suns because the roster is one of the most talented in the league and on the game. So I guess my first question for you before we get into some of the fun ratings, what factors went into determining the Suns' overall team rating of 83, which is a point lower than it was last year? And how do you feel they compare to the other top teams?
Look, I'm still bullish on the Suns, and I feel like what happened this summer actually probably benefits them more than most. I think Devin, understanding how to, not just try to, score 70 points and really evolve his game into, obviously not a role player, not even close, but, finding ways to do more than just try to score and work with the team, the people that are around him. There was no better person to do that in Paris than Devin. So, I think that's going to really benefit the Suns as the season goes along. This isn't an NBA simulation, so I'm not going to go further than that. I feel like the 1 point dock is probably merited because there is a lot of promise. I mean, like last year, their bench was a little bit deeper than the year before, and Bradley Beal had joined the team and was going to have a full year, and then he didn't play the first 9 games or whatever. They never really like got that continuity together like the entire year. And I think like if you're an NBA fan that's going to jump to conclusions, I think the easy thing is to think that the Suns thing is never going to work. I'm going to be a little bit more of an optimist. I think there were some circumstances that hurt them last year. I still obviously think, and you see it with the ratings, right? I think that there are question marks beyond the top 3. But then there's some people to like maybe be excited about that are beyond the top 3 as well. So I don't know. I think they're a big question mark. But I'm going to be an optimist and think that the Suns are going to go deep into the playoffs this year.
Well, good. We need some of.
We need crazy.
No, we need some of that optimism because as a fan base, we're somewhat pessimistic because of all the talent that you mentioned and all the upside that this team had a season ago when you and I were sitting here talking about 2K and what this team was and what they could be. I mean, last year you had them and the Celtics in the finals, and we didn't win one playoff game. So, for any Suns fans who are frustrated with us dropping from 84 to 83, I think that's your answer right there. We didn't perform in the playoffs. The lasting impression of this team is one of disappointment, one of embarrassment, if you will. Now, that being said, how did their team on 2K go from a 63 on defense, which last season, that was 19th overall in the game.
Yeah.
This season, they're a 61, which is 29th. The Pistons, Wizards, Hornets, and Blazers all have better defensive ratings than the Suns.
Yeah.
What the why?
I mean, I actually don't think that that's too crazy. Like, their bench was more defensive oriented last year, like the guys that they built around Devin and KD. The other thing is the top 3 guys have always have had, well, especially Kevin and Bradley, have had very big defensive years. Like, I mean, Kevin, people forgot, but the year he was on the Warriors, there were a few people throwing around Defensive Player of the Year when he was here, right? Or when he was in the Bay. He didn't play as the same defense, and I think that actually hurt his rating in general as well. And you can say that for a lot of the guys on the team, right? Like, they're going to need to stop people. You can't win games 125, 120 every single night in, night out, right? So somebody's going to have to, and they got all the potential. Like Devin, look at how he played in Paris when he's motivated and he's got a core around him and he trusts the people behind him. He's a pretty good defender. He's not the best defender in the league, but he's a pretty good defender for obviously his offensive skills. Like he should be the strongest shooting guard in the league. He's probably the best 2-way shooting guard in the league now. Especially with Clay, getting to the stage of his career now. So they're gonna have to step up. I don't think it's this massive delta between 29th and what'd you say, 11th or 19th, whatever it was. It's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams in the NBA that just don't really play defense. They were just the worst, or one of the worst, right? Do they have the capability of doing it? Of course. So it's going to be very interesting. I think the Suns, first 15 games are probably the most important 15 games of any team in the NBA.
It's going to be a tough schedule too.
I know they have a tough start, but if they can just, I don't know, go 9-6, something like that, they'll you don't want to get into the place where they're 5-10, 6-9, 7-8, because then the conversations about blowing it up are going to start. And I just don't think we're there yet. I don't think the early rumors about Devin going to the Knicks and Kevin going to the Warriors, yada yada yada. I don't think you were never going to get their value back. So it was very important for them to hold firm. But also, you don't know if this experiment is going to work. So give them you got to give them this year. But I'll tell you what, come January, February, when the trade deadlines start to roll around, they're under 500. You got to blow it up, probably, right? So
if they're under 500, we've got some major issues. I know that, and I agree with that. This has always been a 2-year experiment. Everyone thought after the first year of the big three being together that this should be, if they don't go and win a championship or make an NBA Finals appearance, that you should blow it up. It's like, no, this has always been a 2-year experiment. You have to allow continuity to exist. The majority of this roster is returning from last season. 11 players.
You didn't have a traditional point guard. Like you're forcing somebody into that position. They would think that they had to like figure out. So, but it's put up or shut up time now.
Amen. And with the addition of Tyus Jones and Monte Morris, solidifying a point guard rotation around that big three, we're really excited to see what those results are going to be. I still would like to see a better defense than the Pistons in the video game. So we got to earn it. I get you. We got to earn it.
Yeah, it's there. They got plenty of guys that have proven to be great defensive players before. Do they want to play defense? I guess we're going to find out.
I hope. All right. So you mentioned Devin Booker a couple times, and yes, he had a fantastic Olympic run and showcase to the majority of the world what he can do when he's not the primary scorer, which he's been in Phoenix for the past 8 seasons as he enters his 10th season as a member of the Phoenix Suns. So he was an all-star last season. He averaged 27.1 points per game, which was 7th in the league, and he was a third-team All-NBA selection. He had a career high with 6.7 assists, which was 14th most in the NBA. How'd he drop from a 95 to a 93 this year?
I mean,
some of 2 full points.
Some of it is result oriented, right? Like, ultimately, you look at the guys that are ranked above him, and you look at how that team ultimately failed, and the end of the season for him, and going into the playoffs, it was kind of rough, right? Like, we don't work on like small sample sizes, but like in his case, and really in the Suns case, like there's a lot to be alarmed about, right? And so, are we projecting a little bit of a dip that was worthy at the end of the year? Yeah, the ratings didn't capture the Olympics this summer. It's not what they're intended for, right? Totally different game. It's all there for him. I mean, Devin kind of like has sort of like fallen under this like ultra first tier. I've been saying in interviews actually, like any of the top 11 could make a case by the end of the season that they should be number 1. You know who's not in that top 11? Devin
Booker.
And I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying that he really needs to come out of the gate with a man on fire, like because it's that time for that team. And you got Kevin Durant, who is my favorite player in the league, my favorite guy in the league. Like he's so uber talented. You can't waste his 18th season. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe I'm personally vetted here. Like, we can't have a guy the caliber of Kevin Durant sitting on a team that's under 500 and probably the last 2 to 3 years of his peak. So either go win, Suns, or get off that team, Kevin. those are the options.
You want him back on Golden State, don't you?
No, I don't. I don't think that fixes Golden State's issues. I'm not a Warriors fan. I'm very agnostic, honestly. Obviously, down the street, I love him there because I like with All-Star there and everything that we've got going on in San Francisco. That'd be cool. but yeah, like I want him to get a chance to win a championship.
Well, speaking of KD, he's a 94 overall in the game. What we're all wondering in Phoenix is, why is he not a 95 like LeBron and Steph Curry?
Kind of another one of those cases, right? Like right there, but he kind of is probably a little team oriented. It probably is. It probably hurts him. And then I also think that Steph has kind of maintained his shooting prowess, and LeBron has kind of maintained being a pretty good defender. Now he doesn't play every possession, but when he does, he's strong, and still being able to kind of do everything and put a team on his back. Not that Kevin can't do any of that stuff. It's just at the end of the year, he also kind of disappeared. And I think both of those guys, if you grab their rating in February or March of last year, they're both at least a point or two higher. But I mean, like I said, that upper tier, man, it's scary. I mean, if you look at those ratings versus each other, right? Like, is Kevin Durant 4 points below Nikola Jokic, who won MVP? It's probably about right. Like, so look, Suns got a lot to answer for. I'm very passionate about this because I'm in Phoenix all the time. I go to Suns games. I'm close with Kevin, as you know. Obviously, Devin was our cover star, and him and I have opened up basketball courts together. He's a great dude. But that team, it's time. Let's see what happens.
It's like Bradley Beal was screaming at the end of the season, "It's time, it's time," and it never was time for the Suns. And
I really hope Bradley is healthy and becomes the player he was. Because man, with the Wizards, he was so good. If those three can play near their peak, I'm not saying go back to your prime, but I'm saying if they play peak basketball, that team's scary. You can't forget about that team.
Well, you have three shot creators. You have three guys who can pull up on and can score on all three levels. And I think the challenge, in all honesty, and we talked about it a little bit last year, was the fact that they didn't have a primary facilitator was going to be an interesting experiment in Phoenix. Yep. And guess what? The experiment failed. Yeah. It failed miserably for this team, and there was no accountability. There was this: should I score? Should I not score? Should I facilitate? Should I not facilitate? And that's kind of what Bradley Beal and Devin Booker were both stuck in throughout the back end of the season when they did play together. I think the addition of Tyus Jones is really going to do a lot for this team, because you're going to have somebody who, in the fourth quarter, again, if this team had not played fourth quarters last year, they would have won 5 more games. They were so atrocious in the fourth with their ability to hold leads or to not turn the ball over, that they just couldn't find a way to win games. Now you have an opportunity to win games. But based on everything that we've talked about, it kind of, a lot of people are sleeping on the Suns this year, and it sounds like for good reasons. Do you think that
I don't know if it's a good reason. I think it's what they saw last year, and it never coming together. I still believe they're just too good. Is the depth there? Is the defense there on the back end? Those are both question marks. Can they stay healthy? That's a little bit of a question mark. But I feel like I said, the experience that Devin had in Paris, he can be a little bit of that solution about what are you deciding to do? And honestly, a small tweak what are our roles? And who's scoring the ball at the end when it really matters? Those are the kind of minor things that if you could get away from that mental block, all of a sudden that team is humming. It's such a small little change, but I hate to talk about this in another sport, but because Monday Night Football happened yesterday and I'm a huge 49ers fan, I watched the Niners play last night, and it's only one game, but what I'll say is, I watched them all season, every single game last year, and they had a defensive coordinator that had their defense so confused with what they were running. And last year, it just looked so simple, where everybody was attacking the ball. You get out of your own. Sometimes, and by the way, I know Kevin and Devin very, very well, and I know Bradley pretty well. They're all very smart guys, and part of the problem with being smart is that you kind of get in your own way when it comes, it takes time to make decisions, because you're oh, do I need to make sure my other star teammate is involved? Do I make sure that we're shifting properly? Who's scoring at the end? All these questions come in when they're so damn talented. They should just play basketball. And maybe it's as simple as that. And maybe that clicked with Devin, being around so much talent in Paris. That's why I'm hoping that that experience that they had helps the Suns more than anyone, and I think it will.
Do you think that Vogel had anything to do with it? That perhaps
I mean, a little bit.
his
It's a
lack of
different
leadership
style.
or direction?
No, it's a style thing. I think Vogel's a great coach. I actually do. I think what he's done, but he's kind of old school, and like that roster that you have is not old school. Like you got a bunch of runners and gunners and shooters. Like, maybe there's just a misalignment there, but if he can like get out of his own way and coach the style of team that he currently has under his employ, he'll unlock those guys. You know,
What do you think of Budenholzer as the coach? You think that was a good hire?
It's okay. I mean, he's sort of a little traditional too.
Yeah,
but he's a little left though, and he's definitely a little bit more offensive minded. I mean, what he did with Brooke back in the day, like unlocked him. So maybe there's some of that. Maybe he'll, open up the perimeter a little bit and let these guys shoot a little bit and not overthink. And so I think it's for that style. Mike's a little bit of a improvement. I don't know if it's if he's the perfect guy, but I do think it's progress.
you think that he'll potentially open up Yusuf Nurkic? Make his
start shooting threes.
Yeah,
Can he do that? I don't even know.
Well, he's rated a 62 3-point shooter. He shot the ball from three last year. It wasn't pretty, but of course it's the off season. All the videos that you're seeing on Twitter are of him looking very slim and shooting three balls. And I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing.
Maybe he's gonna get him to play like Brooke, which would be huge. I mean, that would unlock so many things, but I don't know if he's got that in this game. 63 rating is not great.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I guess, again, last question I have for you. Last year you predicted the Suns going to the finals against the Celtics.
Whoops.
Where do you whoops for all of us. I was right there with you.
Celtics, right, at least.
Yeah, and you got they were the champs, so you weren't wrong there. Where do you see the Suns finishing this year?
I did have the Celtics beating the Suns at least, thank God. Okay, so I don't think they're going to get to the Western Conference Finals, but I think they will get to the semi-conference.
What seed do you think they'll be?
Maybe a 5. Yeah, like a 5.
Solid guess.
Yeah, I think that'll be a 5.
All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe this year you'll be wrong again, and this year they'll win the finals finally.
I'll have switched the years, maybe. No, I think the Western Conference Finals are going to be the Nuggets and what did I say? I gotta write this stuff down because I come up with it and then I forget. I think it was the Nuggets. No, who did I have in the Western Conference Finals?
OKC. Memphis is a hot pick.
Oh yeah, it was OKC.
Yeah. Well,
they take one more step.
Well, I appreciate the time as per usual.
Yep.
I appreciate you representing and putting out a quality game. On behalf of all Suns fans, I hope you're wrong that we're higher than a 5th seed and that we win the finals this year.
It'll happen one year.
You had the 76ers in the finals.
No, winning the championship. I did.
You had the Sixers in the finals and winning it. Ooh, why? Paul George, that addition like that monumental.
I think it all comes together. I really do. I think Tyrese is going to have a huge year. They're my pick.
Okay, we'll see.
76ers and Nuggets.
Well, it is September.
Which will be such a ratings draw. It'll be crazy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We'll be watching that.
Yeah, if the Sixers get to the finals, I mean, that alone is going to get everybody going crazy. Maybe it's a PH versus PH team, right? Phoenix, Philadelphia could be a thing.
Yeah,
the PH finals.
Yeah. You're really hoping that they get there. I was with you last year. I'm still on the bandwagon, but I can't get them to the finals.
I think they're unbelievably underrated. Now, don't get me wrong. The Western Conference is tough, and I get that. But I think that there's a lot to be said for continuity, which we didn't have last year for reasons you mentioned, right? Injuries. We reset our bench at the trade deadline. James Jones realized, he's like, I don't need, young guys with upside talent. I need veterans like Royce O'Neal and now bringing Tyus Jones and Monte Morris. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot
they built the bench properly. It's just
they
Denver's
need leadership
really good.
though.
Minnesota's really good. OKC is really good. That's the problem. It's like
No, I don't disagree. And Memphis is one of those teams that you just don't know. You don't know what Memphis is going to be.
Good. Sacramento's going to be pretty good. Hey,
The West is tough.
we didn't even mention Dallas. Like,
yeah. That being said, we win the finals. You heard it right here.
All right. Can't wait. We'll have this conversation in June. But good talking to you, buddy.
You as well.
And that, ladies and jamsters, is the interview with Ronnie2K. Matthew.
Hey, we're back.
And we're back live.
How you doing?
What were you doing the whole time? Were you writing an article?
I might have been.
I might have been. Iguduro?
Yeah, I was like, I have to have that done, and then I actually have to work tonight too a little bit. So I'm like trying to do two things at once. But I was listening. Great interview, John, and I was watching off and on. But fantastic. It's always good to have Ronnie2K back. Some guy that might support you in what you do and doesn't think of you as a clown. So I'm happy there's some positivity coming from this.
Well, and, Ronnie made a lot of really good points, and it was very interesting interviewing him this year versus last year, because last year, as we know, entering that season, there was so much hype around this team and expectations. And although this team has the same core and, in my opinion, has improved on the fringes and possesses the continuity that I believe is valuable, as I stated to him, there's not nearly the hype. This team is, I believe, the 5th rated team in NBA2K. They have the same overall rating as the Indiana Pacers. And it's just one of those things where however you perform in the playoffs the season prior dictates what your expectations are for the next season. Or it's when you have a major transaction and the unknown is out there, you get a high rating. Because that's, Ronnie said it himself. Well, Philly's going all the way. Philly hasn't done shit in the playoffs, but they've had a good offseason. They brought in Paul George. They've added some key pieces around them. Kelly Oubre will be starting with them. And therefore, with that unknown, there's that excitement. And that's the excitement that we felt last year. Personally, I like that the Suns have dropped from an 84 to an 83. I like that Ronnie's not picking us to even go to the Western Conference Finals. And for those of you who watch the show or listen to the show for as long as you have, I believe this is our 5th season we're doing this, half a decade now?
Going to the 5th season, yes.
Going to the 5th season. I love the underdog role. I prefer that because last year we all had that excitement and it was fun to feel that excitement, but at the same time, we knew that anytime there was a little speed bump, there would be an, oh shit, here we go again feeling. And sure enough, that's exactly how that entire season played out. Last season wasn't fun, Matthew. Was it? I mean, outside of covering the team up close and personal, it wasn't fun.
No, it was not. And even doing that wasn't fun. I was joking. That was a good time covering the team there and being at the games. I loved it. But honestly, the way it ended, it did suck. I just always remembered, getting swept, sitting there and doing the last pod, just hoping maybe for one win in that series and how disappointed I was. I don't want to feel that again. But I think going into the season, it is nice, like you said, that the ratings are a little bit down. Devin Booker is not like a top 10, top 11 player right now heading into next year, but that's what he wants, right? We've seen him bounce back in the Olympics where he was going to just be the second best two guard on that team. He answered a lot. He's going to continue to answer, so that's exciting. So with this team, kind of looking up now in the standings as everyone's predicting, it's good for this team. And I think it's good to show if Booker can take that step. Like he's like, who's going to be Ronnie2K's like, who's going to take the last shot and stuff? It's like, you know what? When we do our predictions and stuff, we'll probably have like our best player, our MVP heading into the season and the guy that's going to take the last shot. And right now I'll just say, I hope it is Devin Booker. He did mention, or you did ask, how come Kevin Durant's not in that top tier with, LeBron and Steph? It's because Kevin Durant, I agree with Ronnie a little bit. It's like, he's great, but then he even does mention like Kevin Durant, he doesn't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? He doesn't want that responsibility. And that's why I hope Booker does take that this year and get us over those humps and just help us like kind of defeat those critics, which it would make for a better ending to this movie. I feel like if they were to come back and win it this year after just falling so hard last year.
Well, it's all about the journey, right? And for Devin Booker, this season could be the culmination of a journey. His 10th season with the Suns, a player who got this team to a finals, who then had his entire roster around him cut and traded and just decimated, and rebuilt like a phoenix with a better roster. I mean, this is a better roster than we had in the past. It is, from a talent level and in my opinion, from a depth level. Because even if you go back to that finals teams, Dario Saric is getting playing time, and Langston Galloway was on that team, and there's some good players, but there wasn't an insane amount of depth. Cameron Johnson was coming off the bench, but now we're gonna have like Grayson Allen, who led the league in 3-point shooting last year, coming off the bench, right? Royce O'Neal, who's a 3-and-D guy, Monte Morris coming off the bench. I mean, I do think that we do have some challenges relative to our center depth, but guess what? Go back to that 2021 team. We had challenges then too. We had DA, and then who? Fucking Dario Saric would play some 5. God, who was our backup center? JaVale McGee, was he on that team, or he was the year later?
Yeah. I think it was JaVale McGee, wasn't it?
No, he was the year later. But it just goes to show, like Frank Kaminsky, like it just goes to show you. So from a talent level, this is going to be a very interesting team to watch this season. I still don't understand the defense. Going with the 29th best defense in this video game. I get it. Like the Suns weren't the best defensive team, but they weren't the worst. Like the Pistons are better. The Horny Hornets have a better defense on this game than we fucking do. I still don't get it. I love you, Ronnie. I don't know if I'm satisfied with the answer. He does make a good point. He goes, well, the difference between like 19th and 29th is 2 points. So like, there's a lot of leeway, but it's like, don't start us off that far down. And I know the reason that's the reason why we dropped the whole point as a team, is because they took away some of our defense. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here banging my gavel stating that the Phoenix Suns are going to have one of the best defenses in the league. I'm not saying they're going to be top 10, but they were a top 15 defense last year. I mean, come on, give us some credit, man.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of proved a lot of people wrong last year just because, they were highly, thought of as that offensive firepower team, and they absolutely were, especially like you mentioned, Grayson Allen. Now he's going to be coming off the bench, but a lot of guys like Grayson Allen kind of stepped up defensively, even at times where he was kind of a pigeon there, some games, and he would have some hard times underneath the rim trying to stop defenders, even on the perimeter, but he improved too. I think Devin Booker absolutely improved. Kevin Durant was a force, I feel like, last year, at times our best defensive player. And, with those guys kind of just having that point guard now and stuff on the offensive end, it might take a little bit more steam out of them last year to kind of bring the ball up and set stuff up. Now they have that guy to help with that. So on the defensive end, they're going to have that extra energy. And I feel like they'll have that this year, and that'll actually help improve these ratings. So I think going up defensively is something that we can look forward to this year in 2K, but I feel like 2K is just it's an offensive game. Like, fuck defense, right? You have these 3 guys. What else do you want when you're playing 2K?
Yeah, whenever you play 2K and you come up against a defensive team, they don't steal the ball from you a whole bunch. It's just all of a sudden you can't make any wide open jumper, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm playing a defensive team. Layups just ting, So, I guess on that note, we have a lot of stuff headed your way, Suns fans, as we do every season as we prepare for the season. We're going to be doing all of our division previews in the upcoming days and weeks ahead, culminating with the Pacific Division, where the Suns reside. And it's a good opportunity to get to know the teams that are going to be opposing the Suns in the 2024-25 season. A lot of transactions have occurred. You might have forgotten because it's been 2.5 months since everybody's since the draft. It's been 2 months since free agency and whatnot. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be coming to you live Friday with the Atlantic and Central divisions. We're going to be doing the preseason jammies. We're going to play some games along the way. Woo! And of course, we're going to have our bold predictions and put it down just like we do every year. I always enjoy those prediction podcasts. That's what the jammies kind of are. Looking back to the fun
everything
part.
We got wrong. Yeah, looking back at everything we got wrong.
It's fun,
That's the best part, yeah.
So make sure you stay tuned to the Suns Jam Session podcast. Turn on those notifications. You can read my writing at brightsideofthesun.com, where we always have fresh content. We're going right through all of our player previews right now, getting you ready for the season so you have a good understanding of all the different and new, exciting faces that are going to be on this team. And Suns Media Day, they haven't announced, but my guess it's here in a couple weeks. And so Matthew and I will be there live covering that as well. So, Matthew, anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here? What have you been doing over this break?
This break, I don't know. It's kind of been just a lot of everything, right? I think there's the football, the American football.
There's the football.
Football started. I think the big lead up to that. Did I eat a cat?
No.
Oh,
Trump was saying on the debate last night that like people are eating cats and dogs.
You know what? I have not been on Twitter, so I just deleted it for like the last few weeks. I'll get back on later. But I totally forgot the debate was even on last night. I popped in for a little bit, and I'm like, oh my god, the same shit. It's just the same stuff. Like, can't believe you can't believe
empty
these
promises.
Criminals. These criminals up there trying to rule the world. I don't know what to vote for, who to vote for, and I absolutely don't care. So they can have fun doing that, and I'll just keep off Twitter till the season starts. Where it really heats up for the race.
It's been interesting because the last time that we I know, right? The last time we podcast was it? Well, we did the Suns rank episode, and that was right after the Olympics ended, and so I mean it's only been a couple weeks, but it feels like a month and a half, and I couldn't tell you what's been going on. Busy, just like you said, dealing with the Arizona Heat, working, football. Didn't electrocute myself. I'm trying to think if any fun stories have happened. I do have one gripe. Can I share a gripe with you?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure if anybody has experienced this, but do you know what a late merger is on the freeway?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, how would you describe that?
A late merger would be you're gonna let them over, right? You kind of open the lane for them and then merge late. I don't know. Is that what they do?
Kind of like you have the on ramp. You're in the right hand lane because guess what? The next off ramp will be your stop, but you're hugging that lane. And then what happens? You have somebody who's on the on. They're coming on the on ramp, and they're going to join traffic. So you slow down and let them in. And you slow down, and you're driving, and you're driving, and you're driving, and they're not getting in. And you're thinking in your head like, oh, okay, this person just got on, and they're staying in that lane to get off.
Yeah.
And so you're approaching the Gore lane, which you can't cross. It's illegal to cross the Gore lane. And so you start to speed up because clearly this person's not joining the party. And then all of a sudden they do the herky-jerky and they kind of give you a look like you're the asshole. You're like, listen, asshole, I slowed down to let you in. You chose to ride that lane the entire fucking time until, like, did you forget you were getting on the freeway where you're driving down that lane? Oh, shit, that's where I need to go. And you try to take me out. I have had like 3 of those in the past 3 weeks where I'm like, these fucking late mergers, dude. Driving should not be a right, and and getting a license has got to be tougher because too many idiots are on the road. They're clogging up traffic. They're hitting each other with their goddamn cars, and they're making my drive to traffic longer. And I don't like it, man. Yeah, that's what I'm running on. Vote Voida.
I'd be like, yeah, you're right, John. But there's something that I do usually when I'm headed to the Suns games after work. The 202 when it merges that lane to the I-10. It's like the off ramp, and usually it's backed up all the way back. So I usually go all the way past all the traffic, and usually it starts to break up towards the actual ramps to get onto the 10.
And you dunk in.
I go right in there and go.
As long as you're not cutting anyone off, that's fine.
I don't. And one time though, I was just trying to get in, and it's usually slower moving traffic, and some guy would not. He actually stopped.
He's
and
like,
would
this
not
is where
let
I make
me
my
get over.
stand.
He's like, I've been waiting back there. You got to go back there and wait. I'm like, dude, just let me in. I've been doing this the whole time. It's not like I'm stopping traffic to get in. If I can't get on, I'll just keep going. But I just go into the flow of traffic. And he literally stopped. He wouldn't look at me. He was just like stopping. I finally got in though, dude. And I didn't get the bird or anything.
But here's the key.
Making sure I didn't get over.
In the modern age, you don't give anybody the bird. All right. What you do is if you see somebody do something bad in traffic, what does everybody hate on social media? Thumbs downs. So I do that now. If I see somebody do something like a late merger and and you can see them, I just go like this as I'm driving. I just put my thumb down like I'm Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator. I just give them the thumbs down, and that hurts more than anything. Like they just got downvoted. I downvoted their driving abilities. I didn't flip them off. I'm like not being aggressive. I'm just like, dude, you just fucking thumbs down, bro.
You
like
downvoted in life, dude. In real life, not on the internet. In real life, man, by real thumb.
I didn't click anything. This is the real thumb, motherfucker. Let's see. Anything else going on? I guess not. I guess we can go ahead
I guess it's
and
Friday
get
morning,
out of
huh?
here. Yeah.
All right.
2K
Well,
and
Friday
such.
night, 7:00.
Friday night, 7:00. We'll be doing
We'll
the
do some
Atlantic
divisions.
and Central Division, and we'll
Very
also
cool.
be ranking the teams as we go, kind of saying, okay, the Nets, I think that they're going to be the 6th seed by the end of the season. So we'll build out our rankings as we go, and then again, I'll save those and we'll look at them at the end of the year because that will be interesting to as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I said Brooklyn was going to be 6th, and they're 14th. I really nailed that one. So
I was high on Brooklyn last year. All right.
On that note, Jamsters, as per usual, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review. And once we have more information on Dave King's Brightside Night, we'll put that out on Brightside of the Sun and mention it multiple times here on the Sun's Jam Session. Matthew, take us home.
Go home, love your family, everybody.
Don't thumbs down.